Donald Trump's tweets that seem to indicate that he supports the shooting of protesters in Minneapolis received the rare sort of hiding on Twitter. Take a look at this. Now, it took hours and 100,000 plus retweets before this happened, and they're not actually gone, those tweets. You can still click on the view, but it does indicate that this tweet violated the Twitter rules about glorifying violence. And they had been up long enough that I actually tweeted at Twitter, so can you make threats of violence or not on Twitter? Because apparently you can. So now you sort of can, but it will be sort of hidden. And they released a statement saying that they've placed a public interest notice on this. They're worried that it might inspire people to commit violent acts. So it is not even censorship because it's still there. It's just sort of hidden. This is a little bit stronger than like the fact checking that they did just a couple of days ago. Anna, what do you think about this move from Twitter?
I'm actually kind of shocked that Twitter did this, especially following Trump's unbelievable temper tantrum when they added a fact-checking link to his misinformation about mail-in voting. I mean, Trump signed a ridiculous executive order trying to exert more federal government power over social media platforms because he wanted to retaliate politically against Twitter. And I'm actually happy to see that they are undeterred and they decided to do something. Now, I agree with you. I would like to see more. Donald Trump has a history of inciting violence, and he does so by using this platform where he has tens of millions of followers. So if you truly think that it's inciting violence, number one, even if this was a government entity, if Twitter was a government entity, it would not be protected speech. Inciting violence is not protected under the First Amendment, number one. But since it's a private company, they can do what they want. They could literally take those tweets down. And I know some people are concerned about, what this would mean. It could be a slippery slope when it comes to others who are actually truly sharing their opinions and practicing free speech on the platform. But honestly, I think when it comes to Trump and when it comes to the examples of him inciting violence, it's a pretty clear-cut case. He is encouraging people to shoot these protesters. He wants the violence to escalate. And it's dangerous. And honestly, if I had any power, if I worked at Twitter, I would just take the tweet down.
Yeah, I would too. And again, I feel like we say this every day on the show now, in the hopes that perhaps a classic liberal will watch and learn something. Your right to free speech, the First Amendment protects you from the government infringing on your speech. As a random example, if like the government was to shut down a social media company because they don't like its practices, that might be a First Amendment violation. For instance, if the cops arrest journalists just doing their job, that might be a violation of the First Amendment. Right. Them putting a fact check on a tweet or not wanting to be party to incitement to violence, that's their right as a private company, a private entity, to not be involved in stochastic terrorism. It's not a violation of the First Amendment right.
What's really incredible about Trump's executive order against social media platforms is that based on the standards in his executive order, Twitter as a company could be held accountable for inciting violence based on what a user has posted on the platform. So Trump incites violence on this platform literally on the same day that he signs this executive order indicating that these social media platforms can face consequences if there's anything questionable posted on their platform. And then he posts the questionable thing on the platform. Yeah. You can't incite violence. That is not protected speech in any way. So I would be shocked if he really understood what was in the executive order he signed. It was very clearly a strategy to retaliate politically because Twitter had the audacity to finally correct him. Yeah. I mean, he's been using that platform to spread misinformation since the very beginning of his account. But, I think that, listen, I called Jack Dorsey a coward this week. And I just think that he's been watching TYT and he realizes that he can't be a coward. He needs to do something. And so maybe he's finally standing up and doing something about this. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm just saying.
Well, you don't have to because it's obviously because of you. Anyways, Yeah.
Anyways.
He still deserves a ton of criticism for basically everything Twitter has done as long as it's been around. He does, however, benefit from standing side by side with Zuckerberg this week. I mean, that's going to make anyone look good by comparison. Now, really fast, while those tweets had that sort of cover put on them, he then had the official White House Twitter account tweet out the shooters looters thing, which, by the way, just really fast, I know you all probably know this by now, but it's a callback to Walter Headley in 1967, a racist police chief of Miami who wanted to gun down black gangs and things like that. I don't know if Trump knows that. I'm assuming someone told him that because white supremacists are probably on the lookout for that sort of reference. Or maybe Trump just happens to think like a 1960s racist police chief. I don't know. One of those two things is going on. That White House tweet, though, also got the same sort of cover label thing. As long as it is possible, he is going to push it out to as many millions of people as possible, knowing that there are enough crazy, violent, racist people in this country who worship at the altar of the red hat. If you think that one or two of them aren't just itching to start shooting people, and then just claim that it was protesters that were doing the shoot. Like, if 5 protesters were gunned down today, and it was obvious that an outside militia member had done it, what do you think, like, Tucker Carlson's going to have, like, an awakening, and he's going to realize what he hath wrought? No, they're just going to provide cover. They're providing cover right now. We're going to give you the cover in a moment, actually, but I'm worried about what tonight will bring, basically.
Of course, everyone should be worried. Anyone with a conscience, anyone who actually genuinely values human life should be concerned. But, of course, Tucker Carlson isn't going to have an awakening. His material interests prevent him from having an awakening. Don't make a mistake about it. Many of the conservative commentators that we hear from say the things they say, knowing in a lot of cases that it's wrong and it could lead to death, destruction, murder.
Yeah.
Because they get to collect that, multi-million-dollar salary every year, spitting out nonsense propaganda that further divides this country. That's what Tucker Carlson is. And by the way, I don't deny that he's deeply racist. I have no doubt that he is. But I think even when he sees instances where people of color are being unjustly, it's always unjust, but being brutalized by police, he's not going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
If he tells the truth, he's going to lose his material interest. That's at the heart of what we're seeing in the media right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I could go on for a while about that. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.